Hello and welcome back, my friends. Today I'm going to be sharing with you an extraordinarily useful plant that I believe everybody watching this video should give a try growing in their garden. Stay tuned. Today we're going to be talking all about the lupine, which is an herbaceous perennial flower that can be grown in zones 4 through 9. But what makes this particular crop such an attractive addition to any garden is its ability to fix nitrogen into the soil. Now, the lupine flower is extremely ornamental and is often grown for that purpose. It has these beautiful spike flowers. They make a wonderful cut flower for your flower arrangement. And the foliage of the lupine are also quite beautiful. They're a deep green color. The plant shimmers in the wind. All in all, a very attractive species, often grown along the borders of a garden or in front of a taller plant as more of an understory. Now, the lupine does like full sun, but will also do well in part shade. And the higher you go up in your climate zone, above zone 8, I'd recommend planting it in an area where it can get some part shade. Maybe 6 to 8 hours of full sun, followed by some late afternoon shade is going to do best for you. Now, as far as soil conditions are concerned, lupine does require a well-draining soil. If you're dealing with heavy clay, you're going to want to amend the best you can with different organic materials to help to loosen and break the clay up. It also does prefer a neutral to slightly acidic soil profile. Too high on the pH and lupine is not going to do very well for you. And good news for those of you in deer country, lupine is deer resistant, so no worries there. Now, the best time to direct sow your lupine in the garden is going to be 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost date. Some information out there specifies that lupine does better with some cold stratification. That's a period of time that the seed experiences dormancy in the ground during colder temperatures, which can help it to later on sprout and grow an abundant crop. There's also information out there supporting scarification, nicking the seed, scratching it up with some sandpaper to break up part of that outer layer of the seed. I've done neither one of those things, and I've grown lupines several times in my garden. I just put the seed in some soil and it sprouts rather quickly. Now, because lupine is a legume in the Fabaceae family, it can benefit from inoculation prior to planting. And this is easily accomplished by adding in some cover crop inoculant like you see here. I'm just going to use a rounded teaspoon. Then you want to make sure to use non-chlorinated water. Mix it up really well. You want to make sure to get all those little seeds coated nicely with this inoculant. This inoculant is a rhizobium bacteria, which helps to create a symbiotic relationship with the roots of the host plant, creating a stronger, more resilient plant, but it also helps with the formation of nitrogen root nodules. That's where the plant pulls in atmospheric nitrogen and converts it into a useful nitrogen in the soil. And not only will this nitrogen feed the lupine flower, but it will feed surrounding crops as well. So this is an excellent plant to intercrop amongst some of your vegetables, tomatoes, squash, eggplant, what have you. Optionally, you can soak your lupine seeds overnight. If you do decide to do that, I would suggest once again using a non-chlorinated water and then adding in your inoculant during the last couple hours. You don't want to let that sit for too long. Once you add your inoculant into your non-chlorinated water, you want to plant the seed within a 24-hour period or it loses some of its effectiveness. So I've got a 40 cell flat of lupine growing here, and most of which I just dropped one seed, and we have almost 100% germination, like 99%. So you can start these plants early in a greenhouse indoors, but right now, being that time is of the essence, could be the perfect time for many of you watching to direct sow your lupine in the garden. By doing so now, you may get a beautiful bloom set come later in the summer. So I'm going to be doing some direct seeding over in this area. So I'm just going to move back my wood chip mulch that I had down. It does a great job helping to protect the soil when not in use and build quality soil when planting. All right, so I'm just going to break this up a bit with my 𝗨𝗨𝗨𝗨. So you can see we've already got some pretty loose soil in this area. I planted other crops in this spot before, which is why it's already been worked nicely. And with the incorporation of the mulches, the wood chipping that I've done over here, we've got some good soil. And I'm not too worried about any of the remaining wood chips that are in this bed, because all of these wood chips have been laying here now for over a couple years, which means they've all but lost their ability to tie up any nitrogen. At this point, they're going to be releasing some of that back into the bed. And as a side benefit, check it out. That white stringy material that you'll often see on decaying wood chips is mycelium. Mycelium is a fungus that creates a symbiotic relationship with the roots of your plants. Just another indicator that we've chosen a wonderful spot to grow some lupin. So I'm just going to create a few furrows here, and I'll scooch out any of the larger wood chips that show up in my little rows. I'll just loosen it up a little bit. Now, proper lupin spacing is going to be between 1 and 3 feet, and you can expect the plant to get between 1 and 3 feet tall for the Russell's lupin variety, which is what I'm growing. Incidentally, Russell's lupin is a hybrid. Most lupins that you're going to purchase are going to be hybrid seeds, so any seed that the plant may drop is not going to grow a plant true to the mother plant. It will grow, but it'll end up reverting to the standard color blue. These hybrids were bred to be multicolored, so we're going to get an array of colors in the garden with these seeds. And if you find one that you particularly like, you can always propagate lupin by way of basil cutting. That's where you take a cutting right at the very base of the plant. And I've had success growing them that way in the past and propagating them in sand. So I've got my inoculated seed here, and I'm just going to overseed this area. I can thin out later. And I'll water that in really well. Again, you want to use some non-chlorinated water when watering these in the beginning especially, so you don't just kill back the rhizobium bacteria that we inoculated the seeds with. With some rainwater or tap water that you treated with just a little bit of vitamin C crystals. If you're not familiar with that technique, check the links down below in the description box to a video where I share with you how you can dechlorinate your city water from chlorine and chloramines instantly. Now, for added protection, when I'm direct seeding crops, I like to protect it until we get an established plant. So I'm going to use a bit of this easy straw. This stuff is really amazing for direct seeding in the garden. Not only does it provide a camouflage for this area, helping to conceal the seeds, but it's creating a mulch that's going to help to keep the moisture in and further protect those seeds from inclement weather. And this particular straw is cut up nice and small, so it scatters over your planting area very easy, and it has a biodegradable bonding agent. So once we wet this down, it's going to kind of tack together so that it doesn't just blow away in the winds. And this will help protect it from birds and other wildlife as well. We'll just water over the top. And a secondary protection I like to implement is to drape over my planting area a bit of floating row cover. This lightweight material is breathable. It allows sunlight to penetrate, water to penetrate, and again, does an excellent job keeping birds and other critters out of your patch while it gets established. This is reusable. If you take care of it, you can use it for several seasons. I only leave it over my crops for a few weeks, up to maybe a couple months, until the crops are fully established with a nice root system and between 4 and 8 inches tall. And because it's so lightweight, you're going to need to secure it down. You could use rocks, bricks, what have you. leave a little slack so as your plants grow, it'll actually push up on the material and not restrict the plant's growth. And you can utilize this technique for any seeds that you're direct sowing in your garden. And there's really no need to pot up with this lupine flower. I'm going to transplant directly out into the garden from the seedling flat. I'm a fan of growing both ways. By transplanting, I know exactly where these plants are going to pop up, so I have more control at the way my garden design appears in the end. See, we got some roots poking out the bottom here. Let's grab one of those. Try not to damage it at all. Give this area some water first. Now, on a larger scale, like acreage, you can work your land a little bit and scatter the seed. Now I'm going to add to this hole a little bit of mycorrhizal inoculant. Welcome home, my lupine flower. I hope you love your new home and you thrive and grow in abundance in this area. The soil is very loose because I just kept dumping composting material over here on the edge of this bed. So we're not even into the native as far as I'm going here. But the lupine has a very vigorous rooting system, a deep taproot. So it will drive down and mine nutrients from deep down in your soil, which is great if you wanted to actually use this plant as a chop and drop, which I don't recommend because it's so beautiful, but it will die back in the winter. So the foliage that you do create with some of those mined up minerals and nutrients will end up breaking down towards the top of the soil surface as the plant dies back in the winter to then again re-emerge the following spring. Kept it intact. Home lupine. So there we've got a nice little family of lupine ready to grow out. So I'm going to continue to work my way around the garden, planting a bit of lupine here, a bit of lupine there. It's going to add a wonderful contrast to the garden, a pop of color, as well as help to build soil tilth and feed some of my surrounding plants. And I'm not sure if I mentioned earlier, but there's a history of usage with the lupine as both an edible crop and as an animal fodder. But there are some toxicity issues with the alkaloids in the plant, as well as some possible allergic reactions that you're definitely going to want to do your research before jumping into anything like that. Anyway, my friends, I hope you found something useful in today's video. If so, be sure to smash that thumb button for us. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. New uploads every week, sometimes every day, and I'm always giving you updates on all the different things growing on around here. So with that, thanks for watching. Have yourself a good one. Until next time, this is Dan from plantabundance.com. Take care. I'll be talking to you again soon.